6 most powerful extinct saber-toothed cats. It's one of the most popular fossils that people have seen, the skull of the saber-toothed tiger. Or is it a saber-toothed cat? Saber-toothed tiger is the nickname that was born out of the most popular fossil, but saber-toothed cat, well, that refers to the many different kinds that existed. Yes, there was more than one. Many saber-toothed cats have roamed the earth long ago, some not so long ago. And you might be surprised how recently the most powerful of them existed. Their existence is closer to yours than you realize. False saber-toothed cats. Back in the day, the saber-tooth was all the rage. It felt like every animal was donning those scimitar-shaped teeth, even some reptiles. Many mammals had these types of teeth, and obviously it grew most popular among the cats. But some mammals with saber teeth looked so much like cats on the outside that they didn't actually fall into the cat family. One was Saber-Toothed, living in what is now Western North America between 13 million and 7 million years ago. He was the saber-toothed predator who ruled those lands, hunting down horses and rhinos and sinking those long teeth into them. Another was Homotherium, part of the feliform family, which roughly meant cat forms. This included civets and hyenas, and an extinct form called the nimravids. Homotherium was a nimravid that was about the size of a leopard with elaborated flanges of bone on its lower jaw, which acted as sheaths for its sword-like teeth. These animals were scary, but even scarier were the ones that possessed all the strength of felines, the saber-toothed cats. Homotherium. Homotherium lived between 4 million years ago to just 12,000 years ago. Really not that long ago when you consider the life of the planet. Humans have been around since at least 2 million years ago, so some unlucky ancient ancestors of yours lived at the same time and may have even had some encounters with them. Hopefully for your great times 4,000 grandfather, he was able to avoid Homotherium, as he not only had the saber teeth, but he was about the size of a modern-day lion. Similarly to lions, it was believed that Homotherium was a cooperative hunter. That's a rarity in big cats today. But for Homotherium, they not only hunted in groups, but they were different from big cats today and their ambush style of hunting. Homotherium was actually a pursuit predator, chasing down its large prey in open habitats. The size of a lion, hunted in groups like a lion, but had endurance like a wolf. Its legs were longer than other saber-toothed cats, built more closely to that of a cheetah's legs. Throw those scimitar teeth on the front and you have one of the scariest animals on the planet. The elongated teeth of the Homotherium were, of course, longer than that of modern-day cats, but as far as the other saber-toothed cats on this list, his teeth were on the shorter side. Though that isn't always bad, because these teeth were more highly serrated, able to do extensive damage. Getting back to your ancient ancestors, hopefully they didn't live in the same areas as Homotherium, which started out in Eurasia and Africa. But after a while, Homotherium entered North America as well, and he wreaked havoc on that continent as well. But it is believed he wasn't the only saber-toothed cat to enter North America from Eurasia and Africa back during the Pliocene era. There was another cat as well. Megantereon. The other saber-toothed cat that entered into North America around the same time as Homotherium was Megantereon. Megantereon lived for a longer period of time than Homotherium, but went extinct first. Remains of Megantereon suggest it lived as far back as 6 or 7 million years ago, but went extinct between 900,000 and 500,000 years ago. Megantereon started out in Eurasia and Africa, and eventually found its way to the Americas, but he was different from Homotherium in a number of ways. For one, he was smaller, still big and terrifying, but not as large as a lion. Megantereon was about the size of a modern-day jaguar, meaning he was roughly 6.5 feet long, probably around 300 to 400 pounds, and the largest exceeding 500 pounds. These were robust and powerful cats, more muscular and heavier than the similar-sized jaguar. They probably gave up some speed, but made up for it with impressive strength. Similar to the jaguar and most other big cats besides the lion, Megantereon likely hunted alone. And just like all big cats today, he was an ambush predator, stalking his prey and pouncing when the time was right. Megantereon's saber-tooth were known to be extremely long, some of the longest you would find among the saber-toothed cats. Although they weren't the largest, we'll get to those later on. Megantereon preyed on large animals like those related to the bison and the horse, but he also went after baboons, those in the great ape family. And yes, that included the early humans. We apologize in advance to your ancestors from even longer ago, But again, hundreds of thousands of years, these animals have been extinct. However, their legacy lived on because from them, a different species evolved. Xenosmilus. Before we get into that evolution, we should first talk about Xenosmilus. Xenosmilus is a lesser-known saber-toothed cat, partially due to the fact that it had a shorter time on this Earth. Around 2 million to 1 million years ago was the time frame in which you could find Xenosmilus. Remains were found in what is now Florida, so we are sure they were found in the southeastern region of North America, but perhaps they were found in more places across the continent. Xenosmilus is fairly similar in appearance to the more popular saber-toothed cats that we'll get into soon, but even though he wasn't quite as closely related to Homotherium, he was likely more similar to him in one way. When you look at the big cats today, tigers, jaguars, leopards, cougars, they're solitary hunters. Lions hunt in a group, their pride. That was what Homotherium did. And Xenosmilus may have done the same, as researchers found remains of multiple Xenosmilus very close to one another, suggesting they lived together and perhaps hunted together. Also near these Xenosmilus bodies, many peccary bones. The pig-like animal was probably a favorite prey of Xenosmilus. Xenosmilus was about 6.5 feet long as well, making it closer to the length of a jaguar than a lion. But just like Megantereon, Xenosmilus was strong and robust. He packed on the pounds, easily between 400 and 500 pounds, probably weighing even more than 600 in a number of cases. So, Xenosmilus was larger and more powerful than Megantereon, but it wasn't Xenosmilus that started the evolution of the most popular saber-toothed cats that we know of today. That was Megantereon. Smilodon gracilis. During Megantereon's life, evolutions formed and broke off, and those became known as Smilodon. When you think of saber-toothed tigers, it's likely Smilodon you're thinking of. But which Smilodon? There wasn't just one. There were multiple saber-toothed cats under Smilodon. The first in the evolution was Smilodon gracilis. Smilodon gracilis existed between 2.5 million years ago up until 500,000 years ago. He was the successor to Megantereon in North America, roaming all throughout the continent and even existing in the northern regions of South America. Smilodon gracilis was another robustly built cat with longer, slender saber teeth. Of all the Smilodons, gracilis was not only the first to come around, but he was also the smallest. Still strong and still lethal, but the Smilodon gracilis was closer in size to a smaller jaguar or a larger leopard or cougar. They would have been about 5.5 feet long and could weigh anywhere between 120 to 250 pounds. That would rank him somewhere around 4th or 5th biggest big cat in the world today, but his teeth still outranked them all. This was another ambush predator that took down prey larger than itself, using those strong forelimbs to pin the prey down. The bite force was harsh, though not as strong as many big cats of today, but it made up for that with those impressively long teeth, able to penetrate thick skin and even some bones. Smilodon gracilis was a terror in the Americas, but he wasn't the last of his kind, and he wasn't even the worst of his kind. Smilodon fatalis. After Smilodon gracilis, and with some overlap, then came Smilodon fatalis. Smilodon fatalis came about around 1 million years after, existing from about 1.6 million years ago, and all the way up until just 10,000 years ago. That is one of the most recent saber-toothed tigers. Smilodon gracilis, though fairly robust, was not only the smallest of all the Smilodons, but also the most slender. That's why his name translated to knife-toothed and slender. But Smilodon fatalis, his name translated roughly to fate's scalpel tooth, which is about as scary as name translations can get. No one wants to meet their fate by a scalpel tooth. Smilodon fatalis was more similar to a lion in size, but get this, even more robust, even stronger. Picture a lion but with more muscles, more bulk, and those scalpel teeth. Nightmare fuel. Smilodon fatalis had a shoulder height of about 3.5 feet and could weigh between 400 and 600 pounds, with the larger specimens probably about 625 or even 650 pounds. Smilodon fatalis was an ambush predator just like the lion. He probably didn't hunt in groups though. A lion today can hit speeds of up to 50 miles per hour. No one expects that Smilodon fatalis could hit that top speed. But he could still likely reach 30 miles per hour when racing after his prey. That was fast enough to catch plenty of animals in the Americas. Yes, some would outrun him, but his power was nearly outmatched. As a prey animal, it's not like you have much of a chance of getting away from a lion after it has struck you, but there is a tiny chance. With Smilodon fatalis, that chance was reduced even more. His body possessed even more strength than a lion, so if you felt his paws striking you, you were likely a goner already. But even with the slim chances of getting away from Smilodon fatalis, our next saber-toothed cat made it nearly impossible. Infinitesimally small chances of escaping this big boy. Smilodon populator. The most popular of all the Smilodons and of all the saber-toothed cats, and his name reflects his popularity. Smilodon populator, although his name didn't translate to popular one, kind of the opposite. Smilodon populator meant the destroyer or he who brings devastation. Great nicknames for a predator, not one for making friends. Smilodon populator came about just 1 million years ago and existed all the way up until 10,000 years ago, making him another of the most recent saber-toothed cats. You were scared of the size of Smilodon fatalis? It gets worse. Smilodon populator is best compared to the modern-day tiger, which is why many call him the Saber-Toothed Tiger. About 9 feet long, maybe even 10 feet long, rivaling the length of the largest tigers today. And just like all our saber-toothed kitties, more robustly built, more powerful. Muscles on muscles. The averages say they'd likely be anywhere from 600 to 900 pounds, but with fossils and fossilized footprints left behind of some specimens suggesting some were over 1,000 pounds. Not only the biggest saber-toothed cat, not only the most powerful, but the one with the longest teeth. 11 inches. It was unfair. He had it all. Yes, his bite wasn't as strong as a jaguar or a tiger or a lion, but he didn't need that extra force. Those teeth were deadly weapons, clearly used to decimate their prey, but also on opponents who challenged them, even other Smilodon populators. Evidence shows that when they would fight one another, there were times they'd bite at the head of the opponent, driving their saber teeth straight through their skull. He was fierce. He was one of the scariest apex predators that you could find for millions of years, and he didn't die out all that long ago. Thank your lucky stars you weren't born 10,000 years earlier.